My name's Dave. This is my wife, Jess, and we've been coming to Experience Church since the start.
I think our story kind of starts even before we knew about Experience Church and before it launched. Dave had cancer, and he was diagnosed a second time with cancer in 2010. And our pastors, Jonathan and Natasha, who were living in Fort McMurray, were involved in a small group with Dave's brother, who had moved to Fort McMurray. And they had heard about our story through Dave's brother, and their small group was praying for us and supporting us during this journey, this 2-year journey that we were going through. Because of Dave's treatments, Dave's brother had to get married in Calgary because we weren't allowed to travel. And so all their wedding guests came to Calgary, and so lots of Fort McMurray people came. And so we got the opportunity to meet them all, including Pastor Jonathan and Natasha.
So we knew he was a pastor, and we knew he was moving to Calgary. He shared that with us, and so we thought, you know, our kids are the same age, why don't we have this couple over just to get to know them. And it's interesting, the timing of all of it, and as Jess said, Pastor Jonathan and Natasha had been praying for us in their small group before they even met us, and then it must have been a little bit surreal for them to be invited to dinner and be having dinner with this family of people they've been praying for years. And I always laugh when I think about that dinner. Like, I remember that's when Pastor Jonathan really started laying out their vision for what they want, why they were moving to Calgary. You couldn't help but feel the adventure, be caught up in the intrigue of how would that look? How would you go about starting a community of believers without knowing anyone in the city, without having any background? How do you bring a group of people together? How do you influence a city, the culture of a city, starting just from scratch? And that's what this couple had moved there to do. I just remember the seeds being planted in that conversation that we had over dinner, of just, this would be something to be a part of. This is an opportunity.
I think it's cool. I always say, us being Experience Church is such a God thing, because we had tried so many different churches in the season that we could to try and find our home, and obviously we just gave that whole time to God because we knew that He had the perfect plan for us. Even though Dave was still battling cancer and there were so many unknowns, again, we knew that He had a plan for us and a place for us. And so we were invited to the first preview service, and we actually went camping that weekend, and we were coming home. We were driving home, and Dave was like, "Oh, they're doing their preview service. It starts in an hour. Should we go?" We're still out of town at this point, been camping for like a week, looked terrible. And we're like, yeah, we should go. We really should go. So we dropped Sophia off and all of our stuff off on my parents, and didn't shower, didn't get ready, but just hopped in the car and went to the first preview service. And yeah, we kind of met a few new people, and we walked away from it being like, that was great, that was really good. And I remember vividly walking out to the car, and we got in the car, and I said to you, I was like, this is where we're supposed to be, where God wants us to be. And Dave was like, yep, I feel that way too, but I was waiting for you to say it first. And so, yeah, pretty much from there, we were locked in 100%.
One of the things that was so meaningful to me was that there was a need, I felt needed at the church. The church needed people who are willing to be challenged, and people who are willing to do whatever it took. The whole culture of the church, and obviously just coming straight from Pastor Jonathan and Natasha too, was all these little acts are really meaningful. If somebody doesn't set out chairs this morning, then where's that person gonna sit? You know, they're going to meet Jesus for the first time, but they can't do it without a chair to sit in. And it was just, it was part of the DNA of the church that each one of those little acts of service was connected to the hands that we saw go up every Sunday, people making that decision for the first time. And I can't preach to people. I can't get up on stage and give a well-reasoned and emotional message and have people respond and raise their hand. But I always felt such a part of those people being saved. Like, each one of them came to know Jesus because everyone on the team was willing to do just a little bit and step out of their comfort zone and see a need and meet it, and people were getting saved because of that. You know, we didn't have maybe a ton of resources and we didn't have a ton of people, but we had people who were just willing to step up and to meet the challenge, and really felt an ownership and really wanted to make this thing happen and make this thing succeed.
Looking back over the last 10 years, it's so cool to see God's hand, like, in every step of the way. Doesn't matter what season we were in, God was there. And I think it's just so cool to see how we've grown as a church. We are moving. Like, this church is never standing still, ever. We're always moving. There's always something happening, and we're just always going for it's just always going up. And just to look back over these 10 years and see God's hand in every single step of the way.
You know, and we've gone through a lot of different seasons here, being in the leadership team, and Jess was on pastoral staff for a while, and just being involved in different ways during different seasons of our life. But the thing that never changed, even with those seasons, has been our commitment to, you know, be rooted here. You know, we're invested here. We're invested here financially. We're invested here in time and in relationship and friendship. And that didn't just happen. We had to choose to do that. We had to choose to give of our time. We had to choose, and we still choose it. As one person, I can't have the reach that this community has. I can't go to India and Africa and plant churches there. I can't start a church planting network across Canada. I can't, you know, even reach this whole city the way that this community does, but we're a part of all of it because we're invested here. It's just incredible to be a part of and to invest in.
I think looking back, like 10 years ago, we did not see this coming, that is for sure. This opportunity that we've had over the last 10 years, but still to this day, this is exactly where God wants us to be, and where we choose to be, and where we're going to invest our time and our efforts, because, yeah, it's all about God and our city and our world and just trying to reach everyone, right? That's what it's all about.